You are Locked On Giants Postcast, part of Locked On Sports San Francisco on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Yo, what's up, everyone, and welcome back to the Locked On Giants Postcast. I'm your host, Eric Triple E Engel. You may know me as the former producer for the Murph and Mac Morning Show on KMBR. And today, the long ball lifts the Giants back to 500 as Ramos, Chapman, and Yaz all blasted bombs in this one to deliver a 7-4 win over the Washington Nationals. Blake Snell was nice today, too, as he struck out 8 over 6 innings of work, giving up just 3 runs in the process. Camilo Duvall started to get himself into trouble again in that anxiety-riddled 9th inning, but a timely double play ensured he got out of this one unscathed. We'll break it all down, but first, I want to thank all of you for watching us on the Locked On Sports San Francisco YouTube channel. Please, if you aren't already subscribed, hit that subscribe button right now. Thanks also for listening on the Locked On Giants podcast feed. However you're tuning in, we appreciate it. And make sure to check out the Locked On Giants Daily Show for more in-depth coverage. Ben Kaspick does a great job. Today's episode is brought to you by PrizePicks, the easiest, most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnMLB and use code all lowercase LockedOnMLB for a first deposit match up to $100. And in this one today, the Giants, they finally also, one thing we left out there was they finally got some hits with runners in scoring position. I mean, my God, they couldn't have been much worse than they were last night. They weren't much better the day before. Bob Melvin came out and called the Giants' situational hitting terrible. Those were his words, not mine, although I have used that same word plenty of times to describe this Giants team and their situational hitting. But today, a lot better. 3 for 7 with runners in scoring position. It's amazing what 1 or 2 extra hits in those situations will do for a ball club. And you saw it tonight. That was the difference between the Giants winning this one and the Giants losing in this one. And it started out with kind of the same vibe as what we've been seeing these last few days. First inning, Lamont Wade Jr., leadoff walk. All right, we're getting in business early on. And then Ramos strikes out and Conforto grounds into a double play to end that first inning just as quickly as it got started. In the second inning, top of 2, Chapman, leadoff double. All right, we're back in business again. And then a Pat Bailey, shallow fly out to left. Bailey has been in a bad way lately, man. And it's been kind of some bad luck with him. He's been squaring the ball up. It's just not been dropping for him. His batting average is now dipped below 250. He and Matt Chapman are almost sitting at the same batting average. Pat Bailey's at 249. Matt Chapman's at 248. Two guys going in very different directions right now. Next up was Tyler Fitzgerald, who promptly struck out with Chapman standing there on second base, and then flip into center field, diving stop by Call, saves a run. Call feels like he was at the middle of a lot of different things in this game for the Nationals. He's been an impressive guy to me this series. He's not, someone you really hear about on the Nationals, but his ability to play defense and his, gritty hitting at the plate, he doesn't seem like a big power guy, but I've been impressed by this guy and his speed and just his baseball ability with the Nationals. They've got some talent out there, some young talent. Obviously, this team is a long way from being competitive, but Wood is also another guy on this team who's really, really impressed me, especially at the plate so far. I mean, yesterday he hit a home run, and the Nationals, by the way, when they hit home runs with that funny Uncle Sam hat that they're wearing in the dugout that they put on whoever hits a bomb, I'm just still waiting around for the Giants to have like a fun home run celebration like that. Like earlier in the year, we had them doing the what I can only assume was the machine, pull down the mask, zip the zipper. If you know Pat Burrell and his nicknames and exploits in the from the early 2010s, you know what I'm talking about here. But I have to imagine someone told them to stop, because I haven't seen anybody doing that celebration in quite a while for the Giants. But I mean, you got all sorts of celebrations all around. Like the samurai hat was a big thing in for the Angels, and I mean, there's been all sorts of different celebrations. I want the Giants to have one, man. I just do, man. And yeah, the Blue Jays had like that big home run like jacket for a while. I don't know if they're still doing that, but it seems like every team's got something but the Giants for those situations. I would really like them to get something going with as many as home runs as this team's been hitting. We could be busting it out like 3-4 times a game lately. In the top of the third, the Giants got things going finally. It wasn't a deke as the first 2 innings were. A big 2-out rally for the Giants puts some runs on the board as Lamont Wade Jr. got it going as he flipped a blooper over the head of the third baseman, kind of fell right between third base, shortstop, and left field, all crashing for that ball. and it just was right in the exact right spot where no one could get to it. Ramos then an infield single on a chopper that glanced off the pitcher's glove and kicked towards second base. The pitcher Irvin got to the ball, but just way too late. Ramos safe at first and Wade safe at second. Conforto then comes up, who's been having a nice road trip, as we talked about extensively yesterday. Lines a soft one into center. Center field dives but can't make the play. Kicks up a giant chunk of grass on the field in the process. Like, I'm talking like such a big chunk that you would be kicked out of any golf course in America if you left a divot like that out in the middle of the fairway, anywhere on the course, really. Even out in the rough, someone might come looking for you after that one, except for maybe at Lincoln Park here in San Francisco. Just giant potholes all over what is basically my home course here in the city. But the run ends up scoring. Ramos gets to third. Giants lead 1-0 after that Conforto base hit. Then another infield single for the Giants. Matt Chapman, a slow roller down the third baseline after a 9-pitch at bat. Initially called out on the play as the throw came over to first, but on replay review, he was ruled safe. I thought he was safe just with my eyeballs watching it the first time. I just motioned to my TV that you guys can't see off the screen, but yeah, when I was watching this, I in the moment thought that he was safe. At first, they review it and he is in fact safe. Giants lead 2-0 at that point. Then in the bottom of the third, the Nats got a couple runs back. A leadoff walk from Snell and a sloppy pickoff throw over to first base gives Young, who's the eighth hitter, second base for free for doing nothing. And you definitely don't want to walk the guy batting eighth in the lineup. You absolutely don't want to give him a free base either. After Snell's able to get two more outs, Call with a 2-out single scores Young, cuts the Giants lead in half. 2-1. Giants still led at that point. Next batter, Yepes, 2-run bomb, puts the Nats ahead 3-2. And that's the first time that Blake Snell has really been touched up in a while. I mean, that first run, I'm not going to say that Blake Snell was touched up on that run. You know what I mean? He gave up one hit. He gave up a single, and it generated a run because he walked a guy and had a bad pickoff throw. Okay, that's something that we can live with. But someone squaring up a ball on Blake Snell like that, we have not seen in any of his last 5 starts. And it's off the bat of a very unlikely national. I had never even heard of Yepes before today, or Yepes, or however the hell you say this guy's name. I still don't know anything about him, even after watching the series. Puts the Nats ahead 3-2, however. But then in the top of the fourth, Mike Yastrzemski comes up with a solo jack, 422 feet to right field, 107 exit velo off the bat, ties it up 3-3. And it was an impressive shot, man. This one went into the upper deck in right field. We got to talk about these estimated distances, man, because just the next inning in the top of the fifth. So keep in mind, it just said Yaz 422 upper deck home run, right? Ramos comes up in the top of the fifth, slams a solo home run, his 17th of the year, to left field, clears the bullpen, which is a nice distance home run. But it's estimated to be at 422 feet, the same distance as Mike Yastrzemski's. And I'm telling you, my eyeballs tell me those two home runs did not look the same distance. Maybe it's an optical illusion, but those two home runs did not look the same distance. One was in the upper deck and one was not. I think that is pretty self-explanatory. So I'm going to need someone to kind of explain this to me who's a little bit smarter than I am, because I'm not very good at like all those math problems where it's like there's a ball in the air and it's this many feet from the guy who hit it on the ground, and it's this many feet up in the air. I could never figure those out. I am not very smart. So I'm going to need someone else to explain to me how those two balls were estimated to be the same distance. Either way, both of them clear the fence. Both count as a run. So the Giants take a 4-3 lead after that Ramos home run. It came on a hanging curveball up in the zone, and it was a 2-strike pitch. So great job by Ramos staying ready with those 2 strikes. And he smashed this one, man. 109.5 miles an hour off the bat. Gave the Giants, as I said, a 4-3 lead. And then up comes Matt Chapman, smashes a solo home run, his 19th of the year. And this guy has been so red hot lately. 415 feet to left, almost the same spot that Ramos's was in, but just short of it. Didn't clear the bullpen. So if they're ever having measuring contests, Ramos can go up to Chapman today and say, hey, mine's bigger. And 4th home run of the season in the last 6 games for Matt Chapman. He's on a roll right now. And he, coming into this series, had never homered at Nationals Park. He had never homered in DC, and then the only home run, or the only stadium in all of baseball that Matt Chapman has yet to hit a home run in, is now Wrigley Field. So interesting stat for Chappie. He's almost homered in all 30 stadiums. That's a pretty impressive accomplishment for a guy who's had a pretty impressive career. I don't know why Giants fans seem to be so divided about this guy. He's a really good baseball player, man. A very complete baseball player, plays defense just as well, better than he plays offense, honestly. And he's situationally like never lapses. Like his baseball IQ is 1,000 million. Like this guy is such a complete ball player. And it baffles me why some sect of the Giants fandom just can't acknowledge or accept that. It's very strange to me. This guy is a great baseball player. We should be happy he's in a Giants uniform. He's got 19 bombs for them this season, and he's been playing a hell of a third base all year long. Matt Chapman is really hot as of late. So those 3 home runs for the Giants give them another 3 today, gives them 15 bombs on this road trip over the last 6 games. That's absolutely unreal. And how this team has still lost 2 of those games in that stretch just blows me away. I mean, I feel like if the Giants are hitting that many home runs, they should win every single game that you hit like more than 3 home runs in. But whatever. I mean, the Giants still winning most of these games. They win another one today. With the win tomorrow, they can win this series 3-1, which would be a really, really nice way to exit this road trip. In the 5th inning, Snell back out on the mound, 1-2-3 inning for Snell. Then in the 6th inning, the Giants got a couple more runs. Tyler Fitzgerald gets hit by a pitch. And then Mike Yastrzemski triples down the right field line, his 9th triple of the season. He's 2nd in the National League in triples behind last year's Rookie of the Year, Corbin Carroll. Fitz ends up scoring on that Yaz triple, and the Giants lead 6-3. And then Encarnacion comes up and with 2 strikes flips a single into center field to score Yaz a good piece of hitting. He calmed down that lower body just a tad, used the arms in the hands, the strong hands, to guide that bat through the zone and flip that ball right out into center field. Just an easy base hit. A really good piece of situational hitting with 2 strikes and a runner in scoring position. This is exactly what the Giants need. And it comes from a guy who started the season in Oaxaca. Just amazing. The career arc of a Gerard Encarnacion. I mean, this guy has been so fun with the Giants. He's picked up right where he's left off. This guy has really, really, really impressed me. If we have some time later on in the show, we'll get into some of his stats that he's been able to produce over this small sample size. But he's been really impressive. A really nice bat that they've added. And it kind of, I mean, I know we don't see Soler's physical imposingness in the lineup every day, but this guy has more or less taken that spot. And Soler was having a down year, and this guy's definitely been a nice surprise for the Giants so far. I'm not saying that he's going to turn into like peak Jorge Soler. I'm just saying for what Jorge Soler on the Giants was, Encarnacion is not that far off with what we've seen so far. After that bottom of the 6th, when the Nationals batted after the Giants batted in the top of the 6th, Nationals came back in the bottom of the 6th and couldn't do a whole lot. Snell was done after 6 innings of work. Adams then hits a triple with Miller in with 1 out. Lipscomb then walks with 2 outs, giving them runners at the corner. Abrams singles and scores Adams. Giants still had a 7-4 lead at that point. Got a little dicey here. Ryan Walker comes in for Miller, calls singles then at that point to load the bases, the first batter that Ryan Walker faces, then strikes out Yepez in the bottom of the 7th. That was a great inning for the Giants to be able to get out of that with only 1 run scoring. Great job by Ryan Walker bailing Eric Miller out. We haven't seen Eric Miller implode like that in a long time. Wasn't full-blown implosion, and credit Bob Melvin for getting someone up in that bullpen going and getting Ryan Walker into this game expeditiously, because it was not looking good out there. This game could have turned in a bad way for the Giants in that 7th inning there. Good job by Bob Melvin to prevent that from happening. That was one of the better moves that we've seen him use with this bullpen. We've called him out on a lot of bad ones. This was a really good one. Stops the Nationals rally. Then in the 9th inning, Doval, man, he's back to having some issues. First batter hits a guy on his toe, on his back foot, issues some walks and gets into some trouble there in the 9th inning. Got some ducks on the pond. I mean, it was a bases loaded situation with 1 out. Alex Call at the plate. Again, Alex Call really in the middle of so many different things in this game, and Doval gets him to ground into a double play. Tyler Fitzgerald to Brett Wisely to Lamont Wade Jr. to end this game. And that was huge because the batter before that, he had walked Abrams to load the bases. I mean, or before he loaded the bases, giving up that, walked Abrams to load the bases and gave up a single to Young earlier in the inning. Ruiz was the guy he hit by the pitch. So Duvall really putting traffic on the bases, just hurting himself all day long, but does end up getting out of it somehow. Keeps him off the board. Giants win 7-4, and Duvall picks up his 22nd save of the season, his 90th of his career, and the Giants get back to 500 with the win. I mean, this climb was not never ending. It only took us one game. Shocking turn of events for the Giants, who maybe, just maybe, we can get to over 500 if they can close out this series with a win tomorrow. It'll be a test for them. I mean, they haven't been able to beat the Washington Nationals in what feels like forever, man, like absolutely forever. Entering this series, the Giants have lost four straight series to this Nationals team dating back to the 2022 season. Just very, very, very tough. At least they won't lose this series. With the win today, they'll at least split, even if they lose tomorrow. So we can at least put an end to that stupid streak because, I mean, these Nationals teams that have been beating the Giants, I feel like I've been to a lot of these games that have been at Oracle Park over the last few years, and they always win. Always. And it's just so frustrating. I don't understand why the Nationals are the Giants' kryptonite. The Nationals, by the way, just 52-63 with the loss today. The Giants 58-58, sitting even at 500. We're going to take a quick break in this one, but on the other side, we got to talk about a ton of different things from this one. Snell's day, the home run stretch. I mean, Encarnacion's great hitting as of late. Plus, we got some updates on changes to tomorrow's game time and so much more on the show going forward. So stick with us on the Locked On Giants postcast. I'm your host, Eric Triple E Engel. We'll be right back. Today's episode is brought to you by PrizePicks. PrizePicks is America's #1 fantasy sports app with over 5 million members. PrizePicks is the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. It's just you against the numbers. You pick more than or less than on 2 to 6 player stat projections for a chance to win 100 times your money. With PrizePicks, you can turn $10 into $1,000 while watching Team USA rack up the gold medals this summer. You can make a PrizePicks lineup of players across basketball, soccer, tennis, golf, and more in as little as just 60 seconds. Just pick more or less on 2 to 6 player stat projections, and you're locked in. If you're looking for promotions, PrizePicks has got you covered every single week, from lowering select player stat projections on Taco Tuesdays to help your lineup hit, or getting your entry fees back if you have a losing lineup on Fridays. Download the app today and use code LOCKEDONMLB for a first deposit match up to $100. Again, download the PrizePicks app today and use code LOCKEDONMLB for a first deposit match up to $100. It's PrizePicks. Pick more, pick less. It's that easy. Welcome back to the Locked On Giants postcast. I'm your host, Eric Triple E Engel, and today the Giants win 7-4 over the Washington Nationals. They go yard 3 more times, bringing their home run total on this road trip to 15 so far. It's been 6 games. This team is just going out of their mind at the dish. It's been fun to watch. It's been exciting baseball. It's very different from what the Giants have been doing the majority of the season. I mean, this team has just gone on an unreal home run tear, and they're living and dying by that long ball. We said it on the show the other day. They're like Matthew McConaughey right now, LIVIN, man, just living on that home run ball. And by the way, before we keep going, I should mention, we saw some rain in today's game on the NBC Sports Bay Area broadcast. You heard Flem and Javi talking about that rain. And by the way, it is going to change the Giants' schedule tomorrow. So there's a rainstorm moving in to the DC area on Thursday night, and it's moved up the time of the Giants Nationals game tomorrow. It is now first pitch 9:05 a.m. Pacific. That's right, 9:05 a.m. Pacific. So a nice early baseball dose for you tomorrow morning. And hopefully the Giants can pull out a win, because as I said, they have not beat the Nationals in a series since like 2022. It's been so long since the Giants have beaten the Nationals in a series. And if they're going to do it, it seems like they got to do it with this home run ball. I mean, it's been just jumping off the bat as of late. I mean, the batting average hasn't been there. Coming into today, on this road trip. They're only batting 247, which isn't terrible, but isn't great either. Situational hitting, we don't even need to explain how bad that was. They were like bottom 3 since the All-Star break or something, or since the end of June, July, since the end of July. I don't remember the exact date on that. I should have saved that stat when I saw it. Here I am just pontificating on stats. It's not great. But this Giants team has been hitting a lot of long balls lately, and that's really what's kept them afloat on this road trip. Without them, I mean, they are nowhere near in contention to winning a lot of these games. They've hit at least 2 home runs in every single game of this road trip. They've hit 3 in 3 of them. I mean, this is an unreal stretch by the Giants. They hit 2 yesterday and somehow still lost. They hit 3, one of those games where they hit 3 home runs. They still lost in that one as well, 4-6 to the Reds on the 3rd of this month. The big issue here is that these home runs keep coming with nobody on base. I mean, a lot of these Giants home runs are solo shots. I believe all 3 today were solo shots as well. I know the Yastrzemski was a solo shot. Yeah, I'm pretty sure they were all solo shots today. So the Giants, it's tough. I mean, it's tough when you can't get hits with runners in scoring position. I mean, I saw today that Hill hit a grand slam, hit Forever Giant, who just got DFA'd a couple, maybe like a week ago, hit a grand slam today. So it just seems like it's a Giants thing. It's not even like a player issue. It's just vibes, man, and particles. And I hate to say it like that, but that's really what it is. I mean, it's like a version of the yips. Like you get in these bad ruts, and like these players know what's going on. These guys know that they're down bad in these situations, and I guarantee you they're thinking about it when they're up there at the plate. You don't think that all these guys are thinking about what Bob Melvin said, we just called the entire offense out yesterday in the postgame, when they're sitting up there with a runner on second or third base? I guarantee you every single one of those guys is going up there thinking, don't have a, quote, terrible at bat, or Bob Melvin's going to let me hear about it later. Obviously, the hitting coaches have to be talking with these guys about these things, and it paid off a little bit today. Aside from the home runs, if the Giants just lived and died by their home runs today, they don't win this game. Their 3 hits with runners in scoring position were essential to lifting them over the Nationals. The Nationals did score 4 runs of their own. They had 8 hits today. The Giants also had a decent number of hits today. They poured in 10, so another double-digit day in the hits category. That's always nice. In the Giants, the good part is we're able to translate that into 7 runs. Like yesterday, we saw like 12, 13 hits, something like that, and the Giants only got 5 runs off of it. You got to make those runs count, those base runners count. You got to get those hits with runners in scoring position. Another thing I want to point out about this offense today, they did not strike out nearly as much as they have been. Tyler Fitzgerald, with the exception of him, he struck out twice. We know how his strikeout numbers go. They are not very good. Heliot Ramos strikes out a lot too. He's one of the other culprits from today. Brett Wisely was the third guy. So only 3 Giants strike with strikeouts today, 4 strikeouts in total for the team. It's a lot better than like the 10, 11 that they've been putting in every single night, seemingly. And a lot of these strikeouts seem to come with runners in scoring position, and you just can't have strikeouts in those situations. You really can't. Got to find a way to have a productive out, move the runner up, or hit a sacrifice fly into the outfield and drive a guy in. You got to figure it out. Have to. Today they did. 3 for 7 is a really solid batting average in that situation. Not quite at 500, but just below it. And the Giants, I mean, it was a good win. It was a good win. And this team, they've been rolling as of late. I mean, they've been stringing together a nice little stretch of baseball here. Only like 2 or 3 losses in the last 2 weeks or so. So this team has been playing pretty well. At least after that Dodgers series, you know what I mean? Like they the bed out in Colorado, and then they go down to LA and get stomped down there. And then they went on the road, and they've been doing better. Well, they went home first, and then they went on the road, and they played pretty well on this road trip. They're now 4-2 on this road trip, and they have a chance to end it 5-2, which is the inverse of what it was coming out of the All-Star break, 2-5. So that would be nice if they finish off this road trip like that. The Giants have been absolutely god awful on the road this year. One of the worst teams in baseball when they're on the road. As I said, they were. It was bad. I mean, they were playing pretty terribly on the road. They played pretty well right now. Right in the National League, there's only two teams that have a lower win percentage on the road. That is the Marlins and the Rockies. You do not want to be grouped in with the Marlins and the Rockies. The Giants this year, just 25-35 on the road. That's even including after today's win. So 10 games below 500, not very good. But today, playing better. I mean, they've played better on this road trip. As I said, 4-2 now on this roadie. So that's a lot better than 10 games under 500. I don't think this Giants team will ever be considered good on the road. Not enough time left in the season for this team to really climb back up to even 500 on the road. Playing 500 ball for the season on the road is really tough, and not a lot of teams do it. But the Giants are gonna need to play better on the road down this stretch if they want to make the playoffs. Got to take another quick break here. On the other side, we'll talk about Encarnacion and what he's been doing lately, because he had another RBI today in a really nice situational at bat. I think one of the best situational at-bats of the entire day for him to come up with that 2-out, 2-strike single to score another run. And it felt like a big one at the time. So and he's also filled in really nicely after being pulled off the scrap heap. We got to take a closer look at Encarnacion on the other side. Stick with us on the Locked On Giants postcast. I'm your host, Eric Triple E Engel. We'll be right back. When you're taking in America's pastime, don't forget to hydrate with Liquid IV's Popsicle Firecracker flavor, a surefire summer hit. Get hydrated with electrolytes, essential vitamins, and clinically tested nutrients from the #1 powdered hydration brand in America, because baseball and summer go together like Liquid IV and indulgent hydration. I love Liquid IV's great taste, and staying hydrated is essential for my lifestyle. I'm an active guy, and I'm running around doing a lot of things out in this hot summer sun. So whether I'm out at a Giants game or on a backpacking trip on a Giants day off, I got to make sure I keep that Liquid IV on me. And of course, with Liquid IV, it's more than just a drink. It's a science-backed way to hydrate better. Tear, pour, and live more. One stick plus 16 ounces of water hydrates better than just water alone. Powered by LIV Hydroscience, an optimized ratio of electrolytes, essential vitamins, and clinically tested nutrients that turn ordinary water into extraordinary hydration. 3 times the electrolytes and of the leading sports drink, 8 essential vitamins and nutrients, always non-GMO, vegan, gluten-free, dairy-free, and soy-free. So no more thirsty summers when you indulge in liquid hydration with Liquid IV. Get 20% off your first order of Liquid IV when you go to liquidiv.com and use code MLB at checkout. That's 20% off your first order when you shop Better Hydration today using promo code MLB at liquidiv.com. Welcome back to the Locked On Giants postcast. I'm your host, Eric Triple E Engel. And before we wrap up this one, I want to get to 2 things. Encarnacion and Blake Snell, briefly on Blake Snell. Encarnacion went 2 for 4 in his last night out with a double, and it was just his 5th game with the Giants. So today was game number 6, and he's already fit in really nicely. 3 of his 6 hits have gone for extra bases. I guess 3 of his 7 hits now. He's had 2 doubles and a home run. He's hit safely in 5 of his first 6 games since coming up with the Giants. I mean, he was tearing it up down in AAA. He had an 18-game hitting streak, and he's doing the same thing up here with the Giants. That I just got to acknowledge again, that situational hitting that he was able to show and put on display today was really impressive. And it wasn't a lucky hit. It wasn't just like it worked out for the guy in that situation. He made visible changes to his stride, he shortened up, and he just went with the pitch. And we don't see guys doing that very much anymore. How often we see guys swinging out of their shoes with 2 strikes because they're just that's baseball nowadays. It's home run or bust for a lot of guys. And a big, powerful hitter like Encarnacion, that's kind of what you expect when you see a guy like that. You expect a guy who's going up there swinging like Matt Stairs at everything, but that's not what he did. Went up there, adjusted his at-bat in his approach, and had an idea of what he wanted to do in the situation, not just swing as hard as he can and hope for the best, not the Matt Chapman special, So Encarnacion with a very heady at-bat and a great display of situational hitting. We got to shout out the young guy who has very limited major league experience, came up in 2022 with the Marlins before falling out of the major leagues entirely and playing in the Mexican League, playing for Oaxaca, and eventually ending up in the Giants AAA roster earlier this season. They just picked him up off the scrap heap. And then now he's up with the major league club contributing to wins. This is a big time at bat for a guy who's only played 6 games for the Giants and is so far really, really, really paying dividends for this ball club. Really quick on Blake Snell. No, he did not throw another no-hitter. No, he did not have another, 1 run or less game. That ERA, it went up today. It for sure went up because it was over his last 5 games. He had an ERA around 0.5, and you couldn't sustain that forever. I mean, come on. So today for Blake Snell, he goes 6 innings, he spins 8 strikeouts, and he gave up 3 runs. That's not the end of the world. He only gave up 4 hits. He only walked 1 guy. That's a really good sign for Snell, as he's been kind of struggling with that walk rate this year a little bit. That's the one thing that's not the best when you look at his advanced metrics. He's got a walk rate around 10% of the time, just over 10% of the time. So the 1 walk today is pretty solid. It makes that look a lot better. The whiff rate today, he was getting a lot of swings and misses, through a lot of curveballs and a lot of fastballs as well. Blake Snell also mixing in that changeup more than he threw the curveball today. Had a 35% swing and miss rate, which is right on target with what it's been for him for most of this season. 36.4% is what he's sitting at for this season as a whole. And today, he wasn't far off from that, just at 35%. So Blake Snell doing Blake Snell things out there. He's second half Snell for a reason. This guy, I mean, the max exit velo off any ball that was hit today was just 99 miles an hour. That's a pretty solid day, man. I mean, he threw a lot of pitches. He did the typical Blake Snell thing where he went 6 innings and then had to go sit down because he wasn't very efficient in those in getting all those strikeouts. He wasn't as efficient as he could have been, I should say. He threw about 90 pitches. Yeah, 93 pitches, 63 of them for strikes. So Snell was doing okay. He was doing, as I said, doing Blake Snell stuff out there. This is what we expect from this guy. This is, it's very on target with what his numbers look like for the majority of the season. And Snell, having used the 4-seamer a ton this year, the use of the changeup was a little surprising today, using it more than the curveball, and he was effective with it. He got a 50% swing and miss rate on that changeup today, a 36% swing and miss rate on that curveball, 19% on that 4-seamer. So Snell, it was a pretty standard day for him. He's just doing what he does. And by the way, that ERA on the season for Blake Snell down to 4.31. And that alone is impressive. I'm assuming he'll get it down below 4 before the end of the season. But this is a guy who had an ERA up around 12 for part of the year. For like the first half of the year, not even just part. So Snell has really turned a corner. He is officially into second half Snellzilla form. The Giants are kind of rolling right now, man. I nitpick a lot on this show. I really do. I criticize the Giants for their lack of hitting, even when they're hitting a bunch of home runs, because situationally, I need to see this team play complete games. You can beat up on teams that are 10, 11 games below 500, and you can, overcome some shortcomings with things like home runs and disguise some weaknesses of the team. But when you're starting to play tougher teams that aren't going to surrender a bunch of bombs, those things start to become glaring issues. But you got to beat who's in front of you. Today, I don't really have too much to nitpick about this Giants team. 3 for 7 with runners in scoring position. The bullpen was shaky, but they made it through. Eric Miller got into some trouble. Duvall got into some trouble. Ryan Walker bailed out Eric Miller, and Duvall bailed himself out. So an overall pretty decent day from the Giants, a pretty complete win from this team. They did have 1 error defensively. You don't want to see any errors, but overall, not a bad win for the Giants. And as I said, they're rolling. They got 1 more game in Washington. I really need them to win that game. They're basically all must wins at this point. I need this team to go minimum 10 games over 500 for the rest of the way if they have any shot of making a postseason run. We'll be coming to you live tomorrow. Remember, early start time tomorrow. That game has been moved to a 9:05 a.m. Pacific start time due to inclement weather. We'll come to you live right after, probably around noon, maybe even a morning postcast. How crazy would that be? A pre-12 p.m. Locked On Giants postcast. That'd be wild. We might get one tomorrow. So stick with us. Stay tuned on the Locked On Giants postcast. I'm your host, Eric Triple E Engel. We'll see you tomorrow. Peace.